Hello and welcome to our garden at the Old School House in Gargrave. Many of you might well have passed it. We're right on the Pennine Way, so whilst you're out walking your dog, you might well have seen us in the garden. Our garden is long and narrow, not that narrow, but narrowish, and we've split it into three kind of sections really. The first bit is our conservatory garden, which is largely down to lawn and flower borders. Flower over there that dominates the scene is one that we've grown from seed from the RHS's free seed scheme, and it's called Salvia napifolia. In good weather, which it absolutely certainly isn't now or has been for the last few days, it's absolutely covered in bees, but even now on a really murky day you can still see one or two lurking in there. Also in this border, I think everybody's favourite rose, well one of the favourite roses anyway, Rose Ballerina. We'll pan round a bit and there's Gertrude Jekyll popping her head out, and we come up to the Rose Arch. Just down by the corner here we've got this fantastic little self-seeded perennial foxglove. We've got it in other areas, but it's just seeded itself there, and our cat Dilly in the way, just for a bit of added value. Right, so through the Rose Arch, I'll try to avoid the cat, and into the second part of the garden, which is, well, nominally down to vegetables, but we've got very much a mixture of flowers in with it as well. Down the path there is a rose called Skyborough Fair, which is usually absolutely bursting with flowers at this time of year, but as Sarah Curtis said in her video, we were absolutely battered by frost this year, and one of the things that were caught at a bad time were a lot of the David Austin roses, of which Skyborough Fair is one of them. Hostas were hit, trees were hit, really bad situation right at the beginning of May. So we're hoping that this will flower up a bit in the next couple of weeks. Down to right here is one of those plants that was popular a few years ago, called Salvia hot lips. Some of it more hot than lips at the minute, but anyway, it's very easy to propagate from cuttings, and we've now scattered it throughout this particular part of the garden. Also here is, we went on holiday a couple of years ago, went to visit Sissinghurst and Great Dixter, and saw this particular dahlia called David Howard. So it's obviously one that's on trend, and I noticed that Monty Don's mentioned it quite a lot recently. So if you want to get on trend with your dahlias, I think David Howard's one of them. Whilst we were at Great Dixter, we bought this, which we think is a lovely little thing, which is a Persicaria, creeps along the ground. I can't just remember what it's called, but if you were interested, we could find out for you. On the same holiday, we were in a cottage that had hollyhocks. We relieved the hollyhocks of a few seeds, and they've flowered for us really remarkably well ever since. Right, now down to the every garden has a greenhouse. Well, not everyone, but mostly we do. And these were very popular these greenhouses were very popular about 40 years ago, the old aluminium one. Equally ubiquitous as the tomatoes which were growing in it. We tend to grow a number of different varieties and see what happens. Oh yeah, now as we come out of the greenhouse, we've got one of those bits of gardening disasters, which is that the gooseberries have been absolutely devastated by gooseberry sawfly. Still got a decent crop on there, as you can see. We're quite pleased with the crop, and the sawfly doesn't seem to harm the crop too much, or indeed the long-term health of the plant, but it does enough make it look a bit of a mess at the minute. Right, we'll go through sweet pea arch and into the to the bottom half of the garden, which is very much dominated by these mature-ish trees which were planted sometime before we ever came here. On our way past, I'll just show you the crop of garlic that we're drying out. I mean, obviously we think these look quite good, because if we hadn't, I wouldn't bother showing them you. So there we are, two different types of garlic, which we keep them over, and I just use them each year. Right, bit of a Brucey bonus here, cat again. Bit of a Brucey bonus here, which is this this tree, which was hit by frost and a lot of the leaves knocked off it, has started to regrow, and it just looks great now. So that, as I say, bit of a Brucey bonus. Right, this was the old school playground, I guess, and had a fence, wire mesh fence around the outside of it, which was growing intermingled with a old Leylandii hedge, allowing the animals to get in, so we had to get rid of it all and put a new fence in. The fence is calming down a bit, but it does have a stockade-like appearance. But what we have gained is about 6 feet of garden, which we didn't have last year. But finding its own niche, a nice bit of happenstance, is this clematis has just found its niche, and is flowering magnificently where no one can see it. Right, we'll pan back past Mr. Owl, and we can just kind of see where we are in the countryside here. Just over the fence there's you just see the moat of the medieval manor house. Every country house should have a moat, and that's ours. But what I'm going to show you now is, for the last 3 or 4 years we've been growing a variety of outside tomato called Balcony Red, which performs marvellously no matter what the conditions, and here it is growing now. Loads of fruit on it. Theoretically you don't stake it, in practice it needs a bit of a help in our climate, but Balcony Red it's called. I really recommend it. This year we've tried Balcony Red's smaller cousin or brother or sister called Balcony Yellow. Doesn't look anything like it, but we've got high hopes for that. Plenty of fruit coming on that one, as well as on the Balcony Red. Right, now where are we now? Panning round a bit. This is an area of garden which comes out a bit later on. It's got phlox, leucanthemum, dahlias and so on in it. We'll go back through the rose through the sweet pea arch, and just have a look at, every garden's got a problem, and this is ours. It's an Atlantic blue cedar which is planted far too close to the house. Our tree surgeon Mark from local firm Woodfellas says we will chop it down, and I suspect that he's probably correct. Going back through the garden now, we've got what we like to call the stream side. Not that we've got a stream, but it is an area of the garden which is particularly wet in winter, and on some winters, and certainly this last one, it is flooded. So we've tried to find plants which will grow in those sort of conditions, and one which does really well is Harlow primula. They were absolutely gorgeous a couple of weeks ago, but they're on the last legs at the minute. Also in here are hostas, Ligularia, Desdemona, and that's Lysimachia firecracker, which you need to keep under control, or else it'll take over your garden for you. But it's a really good plant. While we're passing them, first crack at growing large onions. These variety called Exhibition, and they look as though they might do something. Not prize winners, I don't suspect, but nonetheless they're looking pretty good. Right, that's the shed. Horseradish, great if you like to punish yourself when you're trying to chop it up. Absolutely, completely gets in your eyes. Right, just look up the steps, and we'll dwell for a second or two on this, which is Centaurea macrocephala, I think, or something like that. Giant knapweed. It starts off with these really cute golden balls, and then a bit later on, out through the top pops this lovely yellow tufts. Right. Lovely eryngium with bees and butterflies on. I think that's called Joss Eaglin or something, Joss something anyway. Monoida's ready to come out. Dicey Bustle, another of Mr. Austin's roses, and going into our border with hostas and Alchemilla mollis and more Desdemona, Ligularias. Right, well that's pretty much the tour done with, and we can ignore the scaffolding. So that's about it. So if you're passing by the old schoolhouse on the Pennine Way, do give us a shout if you see us in the garden. Okay, happy gardening. Bye.